Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland, hoping to be Pius XIII. Anyway, elect me as Pope, not that the laity get a look in on this, is only the cardinalate, about 120 of them below the age of 80. Okay, more than a trifle. Flippantly, I'm saying, yeah, come on. Now, I believe one doesn't have to be in holy orders to be elected Pope. Theoretically, any Catholic man can do it, so I will keep my mobile phone charged for the phone call, which unfortunately didn't come in 2013 or indeed 2005. Well, in 1978, that was many, many years before I was born, so I couldn't be Pope back then. Now, I will confess to not being the most zealous Catholic in the world, but I got the stage presence, I got the oratorical ability. Maybe not the most immoral Pope would have ever been there. Got a clean DBS, so very safe with all sorts of people. What else can I say? Don't really like the dressing up, would like the attention and stuff like that. Yeah, the 5-star lifestyle. I don't drink very much, but I could drink some Chateauneuf du Pape and so forth. I wouldn't be averse to living in whatever the Lateran Palace or Castel Gandolfo, all those other extraterritorial places. I would get rid of the Pope Mobile, go back to the Sedia Gestatoria, where the Pope of Rome was borne aloft, is it by the 8 gentlemen of the Vatican, and so forth. So in some reforms I would initiate, were I elected to be the Roman pontiff, is I would allow clergy to marry. Priests were allowed to wed until the very early 11th century, Anno Domini. And indeed, some of the popes themselves were married. Then they brought in this clerical celibacy thing, which has clearly been cataclysmic, because very soon the Catholic Church must choose between married priests or no priests. And that is binary. There are very, very few Catholic priests around, and they're dropping like flies. They're mostly septuagenarians. It is not being replaced in anything like sufficient numbers, which is why in rural parishes, in rural areas, a priest is often running like 4 churches, having to say Mass one place on Saturday, on Sunday, a 9 a.m. Mass here, drive to another village for 11 a.m., and then do an evening Mass somewhere else. And that's why they've got all of these Eucharistic ministers and the laity taking a greater role in the life of the church perforce. Now, I don't see why women shouldn't be ordained, because, Jesus Christ, he called his 12 disciples. They were all Jewish men. Or do we say that only people who are ethnically Jewish are allowed to be priests? No, it's preposterous. So it's just simply a matter of discipline, not of doctrine, that priests not be married. And indeed, when some Anglican clergy crossed the Tiber in the early 90s, in opposition to the ordination of women, some of them were married and were accepted as clergy, not as laity solely. And indeed, there's a Catholic prep school in southern England where there was one guy who was a married Roman Catholic priest, having formerly been a Church of England priest, and he was wed and he was accepted into the Catholic Church as a priest. So there is no moral principle here. It's simply because it's cheaper to employ people as priests who didn't have to think about spouses and children. And I don't see what the Reformed Christians have lost by allowing women to be ordained ministers or priests. The Lutherans, the Church of Scotland, the Methodist Church, Presbyterians of all kinds, the Anglican Church, and so forth. So why not do it? That's it. That's more than half the human race. Women live slightly longer, and they tend to be churchgoers more so than men. And they have whatever, you more like to have soft skills. I don't have any data on this. I don't see why women shouldn't be allowed to be priests. Then there's a trans issue. What if a woman claims to be a man or a man claims to be a woman? Do we accept this person as a priest or not? I don't see why only males can do it. And a lot of the Roman Catholic Church's rules really have no biblical basis. So do that. And that be a reform. And also this preposterous rule against contraception, which the Roman Catholic Church has scarcely mentioned for the last 20 years. Okay. And the great majority of Catholic couples just disregard that one. I mean, I knew some supposedly very practicing Catholics. They've been married for whatever it is, over 20 years. How come you've only got 2 children then? mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with using contraception, the most moral thing in the world. Ideally, every child would be a loved child who'd be amply provided for. And obviously, it's very, very difficult to do that if you've got a dozen children, financially, but also in terms of time and attention and so forth. And then there would be just a population explosion. So there's nothing immoral about that, is it, so long as it doesn't harm anyone. So just relax that rule. I suppose the Catholic Church has simply stopped stating that rule because it is so widely broken, even by those who consider themselves to be fervent children of the Church. So that's it. I would like to be the servant of the servants of God, the Supreme Pontiff, the Roman Pontiff, the bridge builder in chief, as it were, build bridges to other faiths and speak out against racialism, against wars of aggression, whatever, and so on, and things like that. And obviously, got to prevent child molestation by clergy. Now, I know the great majority of clergy are innocent of this crime, but why does it happen? Now, almost everyone has a sexual urge, and it needs to have a healthy outlet with another adult. And if people can't express their sexual needs in a healthy manner, they're going to express it in a very unhealthy manner against people who are unconsenting, against children who don't know what's going on. So, giving, and, about 50% of Catholic priests say that they are homosexual in their orientation. That's completely honorable. Most of them not active. They're not allowed to be under the church's rules. But now that there's gay marriage, the Roman Catholic Church doesn't allow that. Should we say, well, okay, you could be openly gay? And there was Ryszard Karamsa, a Polish priest, probably at the Vatican, and even told the Italian press, this is in 2015, yes, I'm gay and I have a partner. But, that's against the rules, because a straight priest wouldn't be allowed to be openly in a sexual relationship with a woman, or even secretly. But if people allow people to have these healthy, loving adult relationships. Now, nothing will prevent the incidence of this crime totally, but it will reduce it dramatically. Why is it the Catholic Church has had a far worse set of this problem, on a far more widespread scale than any other religious denomination? And I suppose it's got to be because of celibacy. And I know there's some people who are asexual who are generally happy with celibacy, can do celibacy fine, but the majority of people can't. I remember years ago reading a leaflet about this, about becoming a priest, not that I ever considered being a seminarian, saying that most people have sexual urges. If you become a priest, you'll probably never lose that. So, well, I mean, what a thing to admit. And so there obviously been some popes who were sexually active, had mistresses, had several children, and so on. I mean, that's many centuries ago. So we've just got to get real and stop proclaiming war on human nature, and see that people marry and have children, it can be a very laudable thing, and it makes them more able to carry out their parochial and whatever sacerdotal duties, not less. And so do that partly for financial reasons. The Catholic Church said, well, it's cheaper if the clergy don't have spouses and children to support. So, dear cardinals, hear my message. Vote for me to be the Patriarch of the West and whatever it is, the servant of the servants of God. I'd love to ascend the throne of St. Peter. I'm not really one for dressing up, but it would appeal to my vanity a little bit. Right, and then stop wasting money on frippery and showing off, and really trying to help the neediest in the world. And tell people that, impoverishing people is a sin. To die rich is to die disgraced. And we've got to try and help those who are suffering. And the Catholic Church needs to put its money where its mouth is and do more to help refugees and so on. Right. Thank you very much for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, then in PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye.